So you clicked on this video. I mean, it might be because you want to clear challenges like Eldritch Outlook or Panic Zealot consistently and cleanly. I mean, maybe you want to impress your friends by solo carrying them in TNA after some dumbass hack wipes your entire party. Maybe you're a French-Canadian game dev who struggles against Legendary Island's first boss.
Okay, Salted, I trust you. You can do it. You can kill the mummy.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Had to happen.
No matter, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Boju. I've been tryharding my Wynncraft for about 4 years now, specializing mostly in glassy builds and like very aggressive combat. I have a legendary medallion. I had one. Earned almost exclusively from Hyperglass clears of Legendary Island. And in this video, I'd like to present to you guys the best tips and techs to improve your gameplay that I have learned over the years, and to hopefully be more efficient at not only dealing damage, but also just not dying, Please, keep in mind that some tips might apply to specific archetypes more or less than others, though these are all generally universal tips that you should be mindful of in your gameplay. So with that done, let's get started. First off, let's start with the easiest and most impactful aspect of combat that you can improve to instantly have far better knowledge of when to engage and disengage enemies, which is very important. This is arena awareness. And what I mean by this is having the knowledge of where everything that's going to kill you is and at what point of the process they are. For example, did they just cast a spell? Are they about to cast a spell? And where are they? And does that spell pose a threat to you? For example, Cybele has minions and they are pretty deadly if you get too close to them. So knowing where they are and where they have spawned and where they're going to cast spells on you is important. Alternatively, knowing where in the arena Dr. Legendary will teleport in its phase 3 to be able to dodge its volley of just super deadly range attacks and also spells. God, I love heavy flamethrower. The easiest way to achieve this is really just toggling your perspective, meaning pressing F5 or whatever you have that bound to. This allows you a good view of what's happening behind you and around you in your peripheral vision. Think of it kind of like a rear view mirror for a car, except it's for wind combat. Depending on your archetype, it might be better to simply tab between first and third person or constantly stay in third person, whichever feels better. Also, I want to note, third person, you can toggle between front view and back view. If you toggle front view, you can easily see what's behind you. Very useful. Now let's talk a little bit about movement. It's probably the biggest thing that leads to most missed damage window opportunities as well as most avoidable deaths. In wind combat, the bosses are designed that they heavily punish you if you don't move, if you stand still. For example, every single ranged boss in Legendary Island will shred you if you're just sitting in front of it. So you want to strafe around it. Use your A and D keys, for example, as Assassin to strafe around Dr. Legendary like I'm doing right now, probably in the video. Or using your movement spell is also another very useful tech, especially for avoiding big attacks. Say Panic Zealot casts his heavy explosion combo. If you want to avoid it, as Archer you can just escape upwards to avoid the explosion, or as Assassin just dash upwards. Warriors can just charge away, so on, you get what I mean. It's very important to utilize your movement spell in combat as well, sort of like strafing to strafe around the boss or avoid its attacks. Even with some spell spam builds, you can literally incorporate charge into your combos just to fly around a mob, for example, as you see in the next clip right now. Stuff like this is very important and will really improve your survivability. Let's talk a little bit about build-in spells. I'll go over spells first. So, in Wynncraft, the speed at which you can cast spells is directly proportional to your click speed on your mouse, basically how many mouse inputs you can do in a certain amount of time. The faster the speed, the more spells you output, and also that means the more DPS you do with those spells. So if you want to improve your DPS, one easy way for spell builds, not melee, is just by improving your click speed on your mouse. You can train that with all kinds of click speed trainers, etc. It will come naturally over time as well. Now, for builds, you gotta understand that even if you understand all kinds of things about arena awareness and movement and such, if you don't have a good build that enables you to do those things, you're not going to be doing anything. Getting a good build means having good mana sustain and also just, for example, enough walk speed so that you don't just stand still even if you try to strafe. Good sources for good builds and how to learn building in general, I would recommend is Blue's builds for a high quality collection of easily searchable builds for all kinds of weapons and archetypes, as well as Atlas Inc. for personal build help from nerds, I mean class builders. Finally, let's talk about how you can start to actually hone your skills and apply these tips that I have talked about. My best tip and the way I'm myself trained is by kind of simply challenging myself more and more. So what I mean is I would take a build and complete LI or EO, for example, with it, and then I would just switch to a Glacier build, and I would keep on going for Glacier and Glacier builds, which meant that they would allow me less and less mistakes each time lest I die. So through this process of just challenging myself for harder and harder builds, I eventually learned how to play well and, got to the point I am at. I would argue that if you know how to play Glacier builds well, you can play almost any build well, no matter its tankiness. If you're just starting out, it might be good to first try out simple no-pot runs with fairly good sustained builds with loads of effective hit points that allow for a lot of mistakes because everyone starts from somewhere. And keep in mind that, no one's going to improve overnight, so you gotta just keep grinding and eventually you'll get better, trust me. So that's about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found any of these tips useful, please leave a like and maybe also consider subscribing. If you have any questions or if you have tips for other people, please make sure to leave a comment. If you got any video suggestions, whatever, comment, yeah. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.